Kirk, thanks for coming in today and talking through this musical with us. You and I have worked together for several years, and I'm excited we get to collaborate on this musical with you.
I'm excited too, man. This has been fun. How many years ago was it that you interned at
I
our
think
church?
about 5 or 6 years
I think
ago.
it was 5. I was thinking 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So cool to get to continue to work with you once you arrived at Brentwood Benson, and then to be able to work on a musical was super exciting. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
So the name of this musical is Light and Life. Maybe you want to talk about your church and how you guys brought this to us.
I love this part of the story, actually.
Yeah.
When you guys approached me last fall about possibly working on something together, I had just finished writing a song for our church, Judson Baptist here in Nashville. And it's called The Light Has Come, and wrote it with Cliff Duran. And it was for our own church. And that's a lot of where my writing comes from, is just for my own people, for the church that I've served now for many years. And so the timing was so cool. And you guys came, and I said, well, I've got this song that actually has been churning in my mind, and I could really see it being kind of a cornerstone song for a musical. And that's kind of where the concept came from for Light and Life. And then as I began to think and pray more about that idea, these other song ideas came together, and just the idea of kind of combining the idea of light at creation, so Genesis, and then light and life from John chapter 1, Genesis 1 and John 1, and just, it's not a brand new thing, but the idea of kind of capturing the heart of that and bringing them together was really what inspired the idea as it came together.
Well, that's great. You mentioned your church. Could you talk about the creative team behind the project and what you guys did for it?
Absolutely. I was so excited when you guys said that I could do this, and that was to use, the guys that were already around me on staff at the church. And at the time, my father, Kirk Kirkland, was our orchestra director, and of course arranged for us on occasion if we didn't already have things arranged. And so that's been great. I say at the time, he's just stepped out of that role. I've sort of taken over the orchestra from him for the moment. So it's kind of a transition we've been in. But he was with us, and it still is, as a part of our orchestra. And then we have a young man on our staff named Daniel Bondachuk, and that won't be a name familiar to a lot of people yet, but such a gifted, talented guy, incredible pianist, but also arranger, orchestrator, actually award-winning, internationally award-winning composer. So really a cool guy to have on our staff that loves the Lord. So I love that you guys were supportive of using both of those guys to arrange and orchestrate for this alongside me. And so as we put it together, it just felt like, man, this is something that our church would do. And we're not a huge church, we're a medium-sized church, but we still love to lead worship with a lot of people. So, we have about 50 in our choir and about 30-something in the orchestra, and we just have a great time every Sunday, and this is a bunch of music that we would love to do.
Absolutely. Well, and two, when we sat down about this, I wanted to have an overture. I mean, that's, you guys having an orchestra and churches still having that, like it feels like an integral part of who you guys are. And,
definitely.
So I'm glad we were able to include that in this musical. And
me too.
Of course, your father is great at it, and so I'm glad he was able to lend his expertise to it.
I'm biased, but there's nobody better, and I love that I was able to say, hey, Dad, we want an overture for this musical. It wasn't even a full 10-song work, but still they want to do an instrumental opener.
Absolutely.
And it's really fun. I love where he went with it. Actually, I mentioned this because it uses the Hark the Herald Angels Sing melody, and that's an important part of the musical because we use that lyric by Charles Wesley. It's really the framework for the entire thing.
Absolutely.
So it's fun to kind of see all the ways that we incorporate those bits throughout the musical.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. Well, let's dive into the first song where the choir comes in, called True Light Shines.
Yep.
Host of angels
I mean, that's a cool way to kick off a musical. It's fun, energetic, great for the choir. This musical has a lot of varying styles and everything.
Yes.
You want to talk about the next song that's coming out?
Sure. The next one we're going to listen to is Triumph of the Skies, and Daniel Bondichuk orchestrated that first one. You can just hear his flavor. He's got such a gift for that. And I love the fact that we had such a variety of styles in the musical because I could sort of handpick who I wanted to do what. Right. And I wanted my dad to get a hold of this next one, Triumph of the Skies. It's kind of epic. It's almost cinematic, really.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that David Moffat had a melodic idea when we sat down to write first. Mm-hmm. And then as we began to just toy with it, that idea of using the Hark the Herald Angels Sing lyric came in. And so David and Chrissy and I began to take those phrases that we felt were so important in that carol lyric, and began to just infuse this song with them. So they're just scattered throughout. You'll hear that as we listen.
Yeah, and of course, your dad and doing what he does is great at it. Well, that's great. Well, let's take a listen to this song then.
Okay.
They ran to see the promise of God fulfilled. Then their joyful praise echoed the angels as they joined the triumph of the skies.
Man, what a powerful arrangement! What a powerful song. Your dad did a wonderful job. You
I
guys
love
did a
it.
great
He killed
song.
it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. The next song is "The Light Has Come."
Yes. It's the one I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
When you guys first came, and Cliff and I had just written it. And matter of fact, our choir was already working on it. I mean, so it was sort of being internalized with our people.
Right.
And we used it last Christmas, just that song. And honestly, it's the key. It's kind of the linchpin of this whole thing in terms of bringing Genesis 1, the light at creation, how all God had to do was speak, and there it was. All the light we know came from Him. And then joining that idea with John 1, that the light came again in the form of the living Word of God. And just a beautiful idea that Cliff and I tried to capture really in this song. So this is that moment in the musical where you just bring that idea home. And then how should we respond to that? How do we respond to the light that God has sent into the world to open our eyes, to challenge us, to bring the truth to us?
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned moment, and I think that's great because, I mean, like you mentioned, you guys get to do this at your church last year. And so it's cool being able to see how that works in your congregation and how you can make it work in this musical. And
Absolutely.
It helps set everything up. So let's take a listen to that song.
Okay.
The Word gave life to everything that was created, and His life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it.
Darkness covered over the world. Shadowless and void was the earth. Then the living word clearly could be heard. Let there be light. And there was light. Every life was formed by His hand. All creation shaped by His plan. Yet we could not see that He would always be the image of Almighty God. The light has come. He's piercing the dark to rescue our hearts and make us new. The light has come. He opens our eyes and conquers the lies. He is the truth. Even though the darkness invades, God's revealing love shows the way. Still the living word clearly can be heard, and we believe. Yes, we believe. The light has come. He's piercing the dark to rescue our hearts and make us new. The light has come. He opens our eyes and conquers the lies. He is the Jesus is the light. Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is the light. Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is the light. Jesus is the light.
Well, man, what an amazing truth to remember at Christmas.
I know. I felt that same way, and that's the way we designed the end of this musical to work is exactly the way we would do this in a live moment at our church. And that is you kind of hand them that truth and then give them a chance to respond. So I actually wrote a little chorus that happens right here after that song that just gives the chance for the people to kind of sit in that moment and soak in the truth of who Jesus is. And then it invites them to hail the heaven-born Prince of Peace. We finally sing all together congregationally that lyric that we've been kind of hearing bits of throughout the whole musical,
Right.
from Hark the Herald Angels Sing. But we do it in a way that honors Christ and that gives us a chance to worship Him for who He is before we close out, in a reprise.
Yeah,
So it's a really fun way to end, I think.
well, that's awesome. Well, Kirk, thanks for coming in and walking us through this musical. We're super excited about it and honored to be a part of you and your team with this project.
Man, we were excited too. Thank you for allowing me to come in today, and I can't wait to hear about how churches are using the music.
Awesome. Thank you.